the situation is that there are attractor states in human society that either will foil us or help us. The biggest attractor state across the last 6,000 to 10,000 years has been feudalism. I'm not talking about the strict definition of feudalism, lords and fealty oaths and all that sort of thing. I'm talking about the generic thing that it represents, which is a pyramidal society in which gangs of male thugs pick up metal implements and take other men's women and wheat, and make sure, above all, that their sons will inherit other people's sons and daughters. We're all descended from the harems of guys like that, which is why males have such weird fantasies. We all fantasize that we deserve a harem. That attractor state reinforced Darwinianly because these guys got more children. So you can imagine over the course of time it becoming completely obligate. And it's very likely, it's on my top 10 list of explanations for the so-called Fermi paradox, what I call the great silence, the fact that we don't see aliens swarming the galaxy. I think our type of intelligence is rare, but I also think that the attractor state of feudalism or inheritance-based oligarchy is one that governs very badly. You get this horrible, horrible story called human history, filled with horrible errors because criticism, which is the error correction process, was squelched by these lords and kings and priests. The history is rife with them just crushing anybody who would criticize them because that might lose them their harem.
Yeah.
So this has been a calamity. And Periclean Athens briefly dazzled the known world then by escaping from it briefly. Da Vinci's Florence, we've escaped from it and continually avoided oligarchic attempts to reestablish feudalism every generation for the last 240 years. And in the process, we've expanded our access to talent by excluding fewer and fewer groups and by teaching more and more kids that they have the confidence to criticize and to compete. So does what I just said sound socialistic? As a matter of fact, it's pure Adam Smith. You want to maximize the number of children who can compete. And that means liberalism. So you have this very rare experiment that we're in right now. And it's under threat right as we speak. But if it succeeds, we might get Star Trek, and we might be the first to get out into the galaxy.
The public square is larger, it's bigger, it's more animated, and therefore that heralds the Star Trek age, as you describe it. And yet there's also, this derision and nationalism, which is antithetical to that, and antithetical to and yes. So what's your response to that?
What I see is that the romantic impulse that propelled the Confederacy in all 8 phases of our Civil War, and Mark Twain said this. Mark Twain said that he blamed the Civil War on the novels of Sir Walter Scott, because everybody, including the poorest whites in the South, adored those novels. Even if they were illiterate, they would go to the general store and listen as somebody read these novels around the Cracker Barrel or the fireplace. And this romantic notion of reverence of hierarchy, a pyramid of aristocracy that is in those novels of Sir Walter Scott, is what Cornwallis counted on when he went south, took Charleston, and when they had their greatest successes in repressing the American Revolution in the South, they went south because they knew there was more support for the king and aristocracy down there. And they were able to recruit scads of Tories to fight for them. That was phase 1 of the American Civil War. The one we're most famous, most familiar with, the most famous one is the one of the 1860s, which was actually phase 4 of this recurring fever that we get. And Romanticism imbues so many cultures on this planet. You look at the Nazis, you look at the emperor worship of the Japanese during World War II, both of them going forth and committing absolutely stunning degrees of criminality and brutality, because they assumed, as Romantics do, that the other has no merit. And you see this in Tolkien, the Romantic, and in Star Wars, the dehumanizing of the other side. In Star Wars, the enemy is always either robots, warriors in the prequels, or clones, or covered up so you can't see their humanity. The minute one takes off its stormtrooper helmet, it suddenly becomes a human and automatically converts to the light side of the Force. So you see this theme over and over and over again, and it is compellingly human. It pervades almost all human cultures, and it has been a hugely powerful minority theme, even in the American Enlightenment, for 240 years. And it is recurring now. To me, the amazing thing is not that this zero-sum thinking Romanticism, us or them, period, and a close in us, as we're fearful of anyone outside of this boundary of us. I find it stunning that such a large fraction of our population avoids that, actually has positive sum thought processes. And if there's anything your listeners should look up and understand, there's a book called Non-Zero by Robert Wright. It's the concept of the non-zero sum game. It's what capitalism and Adam Smith are all about, that they should be, until cheaters interfere. It's what democracy should be all about. It's what science is all about. And that is, I'm going to compete with you, but in a fair and open way, so that if I win, I'm going to be a little richer than you while we all get richer. The simplistic notion being a rising tide lifts all boats. We can solve problems. And so I'm not asking to have a major part of the human spirit cut off. I'm asking for us to be thrilled while knowing that this crap doesn't belong in our decision processes about how to pragmatically make a better world.